Hi guys, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos and I don't remember where to look. I don't remember if I look here, if I look at the green dot up there. I don't remember. But anyways, okay, I hope you have your workbook out, you have your composition book out, and you have your pink highlighter because we have, I think, just one vocab. And at any time, if I'm going too fast, just hit pause. That's the great thing about these videos. So here we go. Composition book. 1.14, we are working on alternate interior angles. First one we're going to define is transversal, okay? So I'm going to be referring back to this guy and this guy. So make sure you have these out. So if you don't have these out just yet, hit pause, go find them, get them back out. And when you have them back out, then hit play again, okay? Okay, so on this guy, this is where you first got introduced to a transversal. And when we did this, I showed you 3 different ways of identifying parallel lines. 1, they could say lines M and N are parallel. 2, they would write it where they would have M and then 2 lines and then N, something like that. And then the last one, which was on that angle activity that we did, you saw 2 little triangles, one on each line, and they're pretty small. They're normally like closer to the arrows. That's the other way of showing parallel lines, okay? So that was just a quick review. So the transversal, it's a line that cuts parallel lines. And I think I mentioned it in class that this transversal, when I say cut it, that just means it has to be going through all lines that are parallel to each other. So in our definition, our composition book. See, I told you it was just gonna be just like me up on the big boards, okay? So a transversal is a line, and then I'm gonna put this S after it. Do you remember me doing that I think it was last week, where it means it could be one line or it could be a couple lines. So a transversal is not just one line. It's a fancy word for just saying a line though. So a line or lines that cut parallel lines. So the example I had was your composition book. And I said, if you just drew a line that goes through all of those lines in your composition book, every single line that transversal went through, it was cutting it. That's what we mean by cutting it. So if I draw 3 of these, and let's say I'm going to do these triangles, and make sure whatever I copy down, you're copying down too. That same rules apply. Okay? So all 3 of these are parallel, even though they don't look it. All right? So that would be a transversal. Okay? So it has to cut. When I say cut, it has to be drawn all the way through. And I can have as many lines down here as I want. But the minimum lines you have to have is 2 because they have to be parallel to each other. So transversal is this guy. Normally it's either L or T. I don't know why they like to call them L, but whatever. But they will identify that for you, and they will tell you what the name is. Okay. So transversal is pink. Make sure you draw this. Okay. This guy's the transversal. Right there. That's supposed to be an arrow. Didn't really turn out that well. You know, I'm just going to erase that. There you go. And that's what you generally see, L or T. All right. Now here's the thing. I can have another transversal. I can do it that way. Okay? So transversals don't all have to go in one direction. They can be anywhere on your sets of lines, as long as it goes through all parallel lines. Okay? All right, now let's go over a couple words again. Alternate and interior. So I'm going to draw kind of like that. I'm going to kind of roughly sketch this guy again. Okay? And I'm going to label them the same numbers. Okay? Go ahead and draw this. Okay? And you can hit pause. But it's numbered the same exact way as this guy. And yes, please draw it in your composition book. Okay? Hopefully after you're done pausing now. Okay, so alternate meaning you have one angle on one side of the line and one on the other side of the line. So 3 and 6 are alternate because you have one on each side of this transversal. And let's call it L. Okay? So when I talk about alternate, I'm talking about on one angle on each side of the transversal. Okay, they're alternating from each other. Interior. I need another pen. Hang on. alternate, one on each side, interior. Hopefully you can see that. These angles are interior, meaning, so it's 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the angles inside the parallel lines. And even though this lesson's on interior, so that means 1, 2, 7, 8 are outside of the lines, which means they're going to be interior, exterior. These are exterior. Okay, so interior means inside the lines. So when we are talking about alternate interiors, we are talking about a pair of angles like 3 and 6 is one pair because you have one on each side and they're inside the parallel lines. And then also 4 and 5 are also alternate interiors. And so if you look at this guy, you should have, when you guys colored this, alternate interior. So you should have 3 and 6, which is what we just did. Okay. So there you go. So that's how you identify them, all right? So we're going to activity 1 in the workbook. Okay. So go ahead and close up your composition book or keep it out and keep it handy so you can look at it. But we're going to activity 1. And so I'm going to erase this and then draw that. You don't have to draw this. It's in your book, so do it in your book with me. Okay? Oh boy, here we go. Don't forget that we are still transforming. We are still sliding, rotating, and flipping. Okay, so don't forget that. And your tracing paper. What is that called? Your answers, your proof. Don't forget that stuff. We're just at the tail end of all of it. Okay, it's taking me a little bit to draw this. I didn't realize there was so much information on it. DH. Oh, I forgot D up here. So I'm just recreating your book. You don't need to draw this. It's in your book. Okay? All right, here we go. So activity 1 says lines AC. This is AC right here. And DF are parallel. So they told us so that way they don't need to have any markings on the diagram, and they don't have to do this either. They don't have to do, you know, with the 2 lines. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, they're cut by transversal HJ. HJ. So this is the transversal, and here's your set of parallel lines. Now, A says, with your partner, I'm your partner, find the 7 unknown angle measures in the diagram. Explain your reasoning. So explanation, you got to have words on this, okay? When you attack this, you've got to find these 4 angles and the other 3 right here, based off just that one angle measurement of 63 degrees. And there are multiple ways you can do this, okay? There's no one way. And sometimes that makes it harder for people because there are so many different ways. Sometimes it makes it easier. So here we go. I got my foldable ready just because it's easier to kind of handle. So let's cover a little review. If you have 2 angles, okay, on a line, don't copy this. Just pay attention. This angle and this angle, hopefully you remember that they add up to 180 degrees. Okay? Or any angles cut on a line, even if there's 15 angles, they all have to add up to 180 degrees. Keep that in mind. Hopefully I'm looking at the right spot. So we have this angle here, which is 63 degrees. That guy, I'm going to color that one in. We have to find these 3 and those 4. You could start so many different ways. You could start with this figure, or you could start with that figure. They want you to start to identify alternate interiors, but my brain always goes to vertical angles. And that, where's that one? That one's on this one. Okay? Vertical angles. Outside of 5, outside of 8. They are across from each other. That's where just my brain goes, this is one way. So outside of 5, outside of 8. I'm going to flip now. 6 and 7 are vertical. 2 and 3 are vertical. And 1 and 4 are vertical. Okay? So on this, if this is 60 degrees, I'm going to go diagonal to that, which means this angle is also 63 degrees. And that angle is named JBC. Or you can start from C, angle CBJ. So that's how you name this one angle. It doesn't matter which way you start, okay? And so that equals 63 degrees. Don't forget your degree symbol, okay? And so what you could do from here, you can identify all the other angles that are 63 degrees. So you're looking at angles that are, it's on here, it's the same angle in a different spot. So imagine me with my pen and me throwing my pens. What was that word? It's a C word, and hopefully you got it. And they are congruent, but it's the other C word. Right there, corresponding, okay? So it's the same angle after I translate, rotate, reflect. So if I take this angle or this angle, it doesn't matter, but let's pretend we take this angle, right? And if you trace it, because it provides your proof, if you trace that and slide it, it's gonna end up right here. That's what I'm not gonna do the tracing paper, just because it's the board. So if this angle is the same angle after I just slide it, this is also 63 degrees. And this angle right here is vertical to this angle. There's just one way of doing it. So that means this is also 63 degrees. Okay, so this angle right here would be FEJ or JEF. So you got Fej or Jeff. Okay, but that's also 63 degrees. And this angle could be DEH or you can go HED. But those two are also 63 degrees because they're corresponding. So now the alternate interior part, I have to look at it this way. FEJ, this guy, and ABH. These guys are alternate interior because you have one on each side of the transversal. Here's your transversal. And they're inside the parallel lines. So that's why they're alternate interiors. I don't use that approach from my brain, but that doesn't mean you can't, okay? There's multiple ways of doing that. So yes, that's another way. You could have identified this, and it might be easier to hold it so you could see that the lines are parallel. And it's a little bit easier to go, okay, well, this angle is 63, so the other one still inside these lines on the other side of the line is also going to be 63 degrees because this guy tells you alternate interiors are equal to each other. Okay. All right, so now we've got to find the other four angles. Well, here we go. Take any 63 degree angle up here. It doesn't matter. I like that one. HEF, hef, or FEH, whatever. So we're working on this angle. So 63 degrees and this angle have to add up to my 180. Sorry. This angle and this angle have to add up to your 180 degrees. How do you get that? 180 minus 63. Okay. This is what you guys actually kind of got yourselves a head start when you did that activity. You got to go borrow 711. Okay. So this angle is now 117 degrees. It's kind of messy, so I'll erase that part right there. So this angle is 117 degrees. So HEF or FEH is 117 degrees. So now go find the other ones. Because my brain goes vertical, I'm going to go, oh, this angle is across from this guy. Kids in the past always like the word across instead of vertical, so I just picked it up. This guy's also 117 degrees. Can't really see my degree symbol. And if I trace this angle and I slide it, or if I turn it, you will find out that this angle, DEJ, or JED, right here, if I slide that guy, it's going to match up with ABJ, or JBA. I want to make sure you guys know that you can name these two different things. I'm going to take this angle and slide it. So this is 117 degrees. And then this guy is vertical to that guy, which means it's across from it, so that's also 117 degrees. Okay. So you've now named all these angles. So going back to the question, it says explain your reasoning. Well, pick an angle. I don't know. Which one did they give us? Okay, they gave us this one. Okay, let's go. I don't know. Let's go C. C, B, H. So this guy right here, that's the angle I'm naming. You could say angle CBH is 117 degrees because here comes a variety of answers. Supplementary to angle ABH, you could say it's vertical to angle ABJ. You could say it's corresponding to angle FEH, because I just took this angle and I slid it down here, so it's corresponding, meaning it's the same angle in a different location after a rigid transformation. Don't forget that part. You could even say that you took this angle and you rotated it and you translated it after a rigid transformation, right? Because remember, when I defined that, it was transformation with the S after it. So no matter what you say, if you justify your angles by it's vertical to this, it's corresponding to that, that's like A- answer. If you want the solid 100%, it is vertical to this angle and you name it after a rigid transformation. That's the money answer. That's the one that I keep looking for. Okay, so that's going to be your explanation. Okay, part B says, what do you notice about the angles with vertex B and angles with vertex E? So here's your vertex B and E. So it's the point in the middle that cuts these guys. There's a variety of things you can say. You could say a ton of stuff, okay? All angles from vertex B are corresponding to the other angles going through vertex E. Because the thing is, E and B are corresponding points. They are the same point in a different location. That different location is on a different line. So I just took the same thing and I performed a rigid transformation. Shocking. No. Okay. That's how I hit it, to be honest, because you're justifying it. That's the whole point of this chapter, is rigid transformations and congruency. You're proving that these angles are the same, congruent to each other, after you perform a rigid transformation. So I slid it. Done. Okay? So that's it for alternate interior angles. We are going to do more angles when I come back, by the way. Okay? And then you have C and D, but it's doing the the thing with just the lines are drawn differently. C, D, and E. Sorry, I can't turn my paper. Okay. So what I want you to do on these, okay, it's the same setup, and all they did was they took their parallel lines and maybe they turned it a little bit with the transversal. It's asking the same stuff. They give you a different angle measurement. Well, you got to find all the other missing angles. Okay. So at this point, I don't care if you work with a partner or not. It's going to be up to the sub and how well you respect the noise or lack of noise. Wait a minute. How respectful you are about the amount of noise in the class. Okay? So finish activity 1. Work on activity 2. Yeah, activity 2. There's in here. Yep. After you do activity 2, you're going to read the summary. And then you're going to work on your homework. What is your homework? 1 through 3. Okay? Hope you guys have a great weekend. Have fun at the dance. I want to hear all about it when we come back on Monday. Bye.